everyone, and welcome to New Trials Podcast. I'm Preya.
And I'm Melanie.
The New Trials of Captor Sakura, Syaoran and Friends is a popular ongoing fanfic by Wishluv, and it's based off of Clamp's Captor Sakura. And in each episode, we'll do a deep dive of a new chapter. Let's get into it.
Alrighty, so I did want to bring up, one of my little discussion points last time, I didn't see her comment in time, so I wanted to bring it up on this one. So I had asked, had there been any other school dances? And Shell Whitfield commented, and she said, I was going to say there was another Christmas dance the following year, but I remembered that the dance was actually held at Tomeo's house. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this dance held at Tomeo's house there instead of at the school? Still considered a school dance, is just being held at Tomeo's because it's Tomeo and she can throw a dance party 1,000 times better than any school could throw. And then, Mezel commented back to her. She said, you might be thinking of Christmas parties that the Daidojis have, or maybe they're dance parties. And then Shell commented back and said, it might have been just a Christmas dance party the Gaines whole class attended. Honestly, I couldn't remember. Yeah.
I think it's more along the lines of the Daijuji Christmas party, because I think Fujitaka and Tuya, if I'm not like mixing things up, but I feel that they were guests there, so they wouldn't just attend a regular school party. So I think yes, the school was probably there, but it was also extended to the Daijuji's many contacts.
Yeah, and I think isn't that the year that they exchanged the infamous watches, I believe?
I am so rusty in my New Trials trivia.
I am too, for that matter.
Yeah.
And that sounds familiar because I know they exchange watches.
That's
for
arc
Christmas.
3. Yeah, that's arc 3 though, and that feels like a friend's party. I feel like in Hang a Shining Star, the chapter that's going to be coming up. No.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. Because there is a part, but it's a party. It's not a dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. So who knows?
Well, we're going to get there soon. We're only on chapter 12. We're right around the corner.
Eventually. But thank you guys for commenting. As always, we really appreciate when you do.
Okay, so today we're going to be discussing chapter 12, Till You Turn to Me, A Night of Betrayed Love. Here's the summary. Nadeshiko told Sonomi about her conflicting feelings for Ryuren, and later on, after she and Ryuren battled the whip, they bickered until she confessed that she liked him. Ryuren rejected her feelings by claiming that in time she would no longer have them. Nadeshiko knew that it wouldn't change, and she was willing to wait for Ryuren to return her feelings. Sakura woke up from her dream with tears in her eyes. At school, Sakura was drawn to the music room when she heard someone playing the piano, but looked away when she saw it was Syaoran. That was when she overheard Erika coming in to ask Syaoran to the Winter Wonderland, and he accepted. On Sunday, Sakura, Syaoran, Tomoyo Meilin, Aaron, and Erika went shopping. Downtown, a glittering crystal necklace caught Sakura's eye at the jewelry store, and Syaoran noticed it as well. By the end of the day, a snowstorm hit and canceled the trains, leaving them to find shelter at an abandoned house. Once they were settled in front of the fireplace, Syaoran was going to check if the storm has passed. When Tomoyo suggested Sakura should go with them, Sakura bolted, claiming that she was fine on her own. Getting lost, she ran into a ghost girl and then a madman, who claimed that she was his love. Syaoran saved her, but the man trapped her in his dungeon. In order to keep her mind off the rats, spiders, and insects, Syaoran told Sakura his story of his childhood, and she learned that Syaoran had the same dream she had of Nadeshiko and Ryuren. Sakura had an idea that they could use to escape by using small and big cards. Nonetheless, the madman still found them, but at least he believed Sakura wasn't the girl he loved. Using her own powers inherited by her mother, Sakura saw the past and came to the conclusion that the ghost girl did not elope, but died in an accident. In truth, the truth was able to set him free from his hatred of the ghost girl, but was able to free her soul. As the gang came home at 5 o'clock in the morning, they had no rest, and the scary teacher sentenced Sakura, Syaoran, Meilin, Aaron, and Erika to after-school duties for sleeping in class. So basically, this all went on in the 8th grade in December, and with Chen, she released this chapter in summer of 2000. And as for the word count, it's actually twice as long as the previous chapter, standing at 11,364 words.
Yep, it was a long one to record.
Longest one so far. This, I think, is the first one that passed the hour mark.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's, the camping trip, she divided into two. So this is kind of the first big long one where it's all just one big chapter, I believe.
Oh, well, it's only going to get longer once we get into arc 2. We'll enjoy the short chapters for now.
Like vocal exercise for me leading up to the big ones.
So for this chapter, I'm actually glad that we opened up with the Nadeshiko arc characters because we needed a break from Sharon's nonsense.
Well, and we haven't had a flashback of the past for a while.
That's true. But it didn't take long for us to get caught up in Rien's own nonsense.
Like father, like son.
Those Lee men. You know what I liked about the audiobook? Your version of Nadeshiko making the impression of Riren. That was really funny.
I like to give her a little bit of sass. I do like the scene though where his hair gets kind of like whipped off, I think that's such a good, I don't even know, like it's a very anime scene to me, if that makes sense.
I felt like a lot of this chapter could have been an anime.
Yes, yeah, that was a comment I was going to bring up later too.
Yes. See, I forgot that we met the whip this early on, even though I do remember his hair being sliced off by the whip. So it was fun to read that, and it changed the way that Lee men styled their hairs for generations to come.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And then we get a Nadeshiko confession.
Like, I'm still impressed with the way that she can stand her ground when Riren's like, "Oh, you don't need to be here. Look, you're hurt. You're just a pretty face." And she's like, No. There's more to that to me. No, way to go, Nadeshiko. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
The whole time though that Sakura's having this dream, I just want to be like, look at your mom being brave and confessing her feelings and being honest about it. Like, come on, girl.
Oh, but it's okay. In Sakura's defense, it's like she still doesn't understand where her feelings for Sharon stands. It's like, yes, she's always had a fondness and affection for him, but after the "I don't have special feelings for you," it's like, ugh, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
My question though is, I wonder, they still have that scene last chapter, but I sometimes wonder though, if Sakura was more honest with herself and if she would have been like, hey, I know you don't have any special feelings for me in that way, but I still love you. And I respect that you don't love me, but I just want you to know about it. I wonder if that would have completely cracked his resolve and he would have been like, just kidding. I actually love you this whole time.
No. She was just too like blindsided to get a word in edgewise. And and he was very determined about like staying on the path of like telling her that telling her that like he doesn't have feelings for her. But if she decided to do a 180 and say, well, I had feelings for you, what are you going to do about that? I think that's just gonna make everything even more awkward than they actually are.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's a funny thing about the scene? The Ryuan's comment about how people who did the ordeal of sorcery, they were in their 30s and 40s, and he was the youngest one in the 20s. It's like, I think Wish-chan is showing her age here, because you have to be 30 to know that that's when everything goes downhill.
Says the girl whose my shoulder has been literally hurting for 4 days because I slept on it wrong. It's so funny.
It's like that's it, guys. Sorry for anybody out there who hasn't turned 30 yet, but enjoy your 20s. That's like your peak health.
Oh my God. Drink until 4 o'clock in the morning, no repercussions. Eat the third taco if you want that third taco. Just do it, guys.
And
So
so,
I've read this chapter so many times before, and this is the first time it's ever clicked in my head that he was mad while playing the piano because of what he had to do last chapter.
you know what? Now that you mention it, I haven't thought of it that way. And you're absolutely right. Because he was like
Mm-hmm.
so serenely playing the Pachybel canon, and I love the way that you put it in the audiobook. It just really made the scene very immersive. And you got a piano version too. So that was exciting because usually I just hear the strings versions. It's very rare that I hear the piano one. And then it's like okay, so Syaoran stomps on the keys. That's just him being bipolar. But now that you mention it, it makes so much sense. I never thought of it that way.
So if you so a while back I actually made a Spotify playlist of all the songs that Wish Chan has ever mentioned in New Trials. And on her website, she has a list of songs that she has made for New Trials as well. And the song she has picked out to be Syaoran and Sakura's like theme is Pachelbel's Canon. So the fact he's playing the canon, even though it's a school piece, but the fact he's playing the canon, then he gets angry, and it's like that's the only thing he could be thinking about in that moment is her, and it's never clicked for me before.
Oh, yeah, I think we could low key say that Sharon is always thinking of Sakura.
Ah, our little lone wolf.
Hmm. So, as much as Erica infuriates me in the scene by asking out our precious Sharon, I have to admire her confidence.
I was never able to just ask a guy out. I've never ever been able to do that.
Um, I missed my shot back in high school. And I always regretted it. So ever since then, I became like more proactive. So when I met Cameron, actually, our first date was on a Sunday, and I was on a dating app and I was talking to other guys, but I liked Cameron so much that like I wasn't interested in talking to other guys. So our first date was on the Sunday, and our second date was the same week, but on the Friday. And I told him that I was willing to be exclusive on my end. Because, like, I've only known him for 5 days. If he's talking to other girls, he could still talk to other girls. But on my end, I was ready to be exclusive with him. And that's when he said that he was ready to be exclusive with me. And it only took 5 days.
Aw, I love that though. That's confidence.
Yes, yes, because I realized that like I was supposed to go on another date with somebody else that same day that I was gonna have my second date with him, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to. I like him so much. I want to see where this goes. I think that's like the closest that I've gotten to like asking a guy out. It's like because I've listened to so many dating podcasts, and they're like, when you meet somebody, you have to expect that they're talking to other people, and it'll probably take 3 months before you get the exclusive conversation. And I'm like, okay, okay, sure, I'll take that advice. And then, sometimes you meet the right person and you just want to take a leap.
Aw. So I was so happy for you. I was ecstatic when you told me.
So Erica, lucky girl, she bags Sharon at the date, and I love that Sharon has a reputation where it's like nobody wants to approach him, and then in comes Erica, and she just like crumbles that to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also like her little snippet of someone's at the door, because she knows Sakura's out there.
Yeah, no, it's like Erica is many things, and we don't like a lot of things about her, but her confidence, bow down.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The next scene is the shopping scene, and I like it because it's like a precursor of what we're going to get in the New York arc. So we're going to see Sakura and Tomoyo and Meilin and Sharon, and now we have the twins with them just hanging out. So it's a little bit more organic when Tomoyo's going to offer them the 2 tickets.
Mm-hmm. I also like that this is the first mention of fashion and like,
Yes.
yeah, because I noticed that when I paid more attention this time when I did my little card Captor Sakura rewatch this summer. I was like, man, he really does dress very well to be a little 10-year-old boy. So I love that Wish Chan just kind of made it a part of canon. I just think that's so cool.
Yes, my note is literally Sharon's amazing fashion was one of my favorite parts of Clam CCS, and I love the way that Wish Chen continues the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
fun for her too because she gets to dress up the characters really nicely when she draws her fan arts.
Yes. Yes.
So my question for you is, how would you describe Pete's style?
Non-existent. So, okay. So when I first met him, the boy literally did not own jeans. Here I was like teasing Cameron about not owning sweatpants a couple episodes ago, but Pete did not own jeans. He only wore like corduroy pants or like khaki pants. And we were working at Applebee's together, and this was right when Applebee's changed their what's it called? Their our uniform policy, and they said we could wear like a black shirt and jeans. And this is right when we were like just kind of talking. And so his excuse to go on a date with me is he asked me to go jean shopping with him because the boy had never owned jeans before. And so that's a little snippet into Pete. And like, yeah, he just wears jeans and shirts. And like his kind of signature style is he wears like short sleeves over like a long sleeve shirt. He wore that even when we went on our honeymoon in the Bahamas. The boy was walking around the Bahamas with a long sleeve shirt and jeans.
That's Sheldon Cooper chic from Big Bang Theory. That was his
Yes.
uniform.
But like that was one of the main things that kind of attracted to me towards Pete though, is I just liked that he was just a guy's guy. I didn't want a guy that took longer to get ready than me. I didn't want a guy that kind of, because I had dated someone like that before. I mean, and I have nothing against it, but he owned more shoes than I did. And I got a lot of free shoes in my lifetime. And he would take so long and he would fuss. And I was just like, can we please just go? And so I just love the fact that Pete will literally, I mean, it's not great sometimes, but he will literally just leave the house and whatever sometimes with no care in the world whatsoever. And I just found that so insanely attractive. But yeah, so how would you describe Cameron's style?
Cowboy chic. So he used to live in Alberta, which is in like the west of Canada, and he used to live in Edmonton, and he really like embraced that style. So he went back to Calgary, Alberta for a wedding. Well, back because the first time that I went there since 2007, but he got to go back. So the first thing he did was buy a pair of cowboy boots. Last thing he did was buy a cowboy hat. In between, he probably bought like a dozen cowboy shirts. And then on his birthday he bought a bull tie. So when we go out to places, he's gonna have his hat, his shirt, his bull tie, his boots. So I'll share a picture of that on the Facebook. It's super cute.
Uh, he would fit in so well in Kansas. Or all our cowboys out here.
Uh, so moving on to the shopping scene, we get the Emma Mia diamond.
Indeed. And I didn't remember it being so small
Hmm.
in my head, like because she describes it about being the size of the pinky finger or pinky nail. And in my head, I've always pictured it not like huge, but like at least a decent size. I don't know if maybe that changes and fan art and stuff as we go along.
Yeah, fan art definitely changes because we're going to see lots of drawings and she's going to be wearing the necklace. And yes, it definitely does change. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like when I was summarizing the chapters back in 2007, I actually forgot the significance of this particular necklace and I didn't include it in my summary until like later on when it was revealed to be what it was and I had to go back and add it. It's like, oh, that's important.
Mm-hmm. And who would have thought it would be the first mention of basically the five forest treasures before we even know they're five forest treasures?
Well, yeah. And the she talks about the necklace itself, and I made a note of that because we don't hear about the actual necklace until Arc 4, Platinum, when she uses necklace to lure out the Platinum card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is like the first time we get a mention of the necklace that was a part of. But no, no, definitely the the diamond is bigger because it does crack, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because as I was reading it or and then listening to it, I was like, I don't remember it being that small.
We get the reminder that Syaoran still has his mother's credit card that's going to come into play very soon. But
Hmm.
honestly, even with Malin's whining about like using it, I think the one time to use it was for a taxi so they can get back home.
I would think so, or I would think that they could all just pile in and then get to the Daidoje mansion, and then surely she could go up to her mom and be like, "Hey, billionaire mom, go pay this cab for me."
Exactly. It's not too hard. But I know why Wish-chan did it so that we can get to the
Right.
spooky house.
Right. Okay. But question, what happened to Nako, Rika, and Takashi
Oh,
and
they were
Chiharu?
smart. They left before the trains shut down. Like we just had a cameo, and it's like, yeah, they were shopping too, la di da, and then they went their separate ways. And I think once you have a bigger group, you get distracted of
Yeah.
of like sense of time. No, they were a smaller group. They knew what was up. They went back to Tomoto. Wait a minute. How do you pronounce the name of their town? Tomoda.
Tomata.
Tomato. Yeah, because like
Tomata.
I see it the spelling in my head, but this is the first time I actually had to like say the word out loud. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Tomata.
they got the tomato in one piece totally fine. They didn't get distracted and miss all the trains.
Well, you know why? It's because Rika, being the mom, was like, "Hey, we need to wrap this up so we can get home because the trains are going to shut down." And she's the Virgo of the group, so she's like, "Come on, guys, let's go."
Totally believe it. Okay. So we get to the spooky house, and I thought it was a bit strange that Sakura could see like the ghost girl, but she was never able to see ghosts before like Tuya. But I guess it's for the purpose of the chapter.
I mean, in real life, sometimes you'll see ghosts and sometimes you won't. Like sometimes I can sense where they are, and then I've never seen a full body apparition. But I mean, I think sometimes it's up to the ghost to kind of decide too, a little bit.
And she probably felt like the kinship with Sakura,
Hmm.
being her aunt and all.
Hmm.
Fuji, what was her name again? Fujiko?
Fujiko.
Yeah,
Fujiko.
yeah. Um, so for the madman, sometimes I would read the chapter and I would think that he was real, and then sometimes I read the chapter to think that he's like a zombie or like I keep wavering back and forth whether or not he's real or not because I'm trying to think about the timeline, and if he's
Hmm.
in his 20s, that's like Toya's age, Toya's age, and
Hmm.
Fujitaka when he left home, how old was his sister? Did she grow up and meet this guy, or was she already grown up?
I don't even know. Because I've been thinking about this for the past, couple of days. And I can't decide, is this guy alive or is he not alive? Like a part of me remembers like in arc 4, her and Shadow go back to the mansion when she's not remembering him. And I think there's a scene in there. Here I just read arc 4 and I already can't remember, but I think there's a scene of like both of these ghosts moving on in that chapter. So I don't know if he dies in the in between or I don't
I
know,
don't
but
know. Because it's like, is he like a corporeal ghost, and or is he a zombie trying to has unfinished business? Because it's strange. Because like I had to read this chapter twice because the first time my computer died before my notes saved, unfortunately. So I feel like I'm really close to this chapter now, and the first time I read it, I'm like, oh, he must be some kind of zombie or like an apparition. And the second time I'm reading it, and it's like, no, wait, he looks like a real boy. So now I'm just confused. This is a question for Wish Chen. She's gonna have to answer it once and for all.
is he Pinocchio or not?
Because he even says it's like, I died 4 years ago. But is he talking about him, or is he just talking about his like joie de vivre, the spirits?
Or metaphorically speaking, like his soul just like died and now he's just a shell of a man, or something, or
It's like a surprisingly a number of ways to interpret this.
indeed.
So in the chapter, Sakura goes off, Syaoran looks for her, but then Madman finds him, puts him in a dungeon. Which house has a dungeon? So we get another reference of Leon, and it's like to this day, it still shocks me that we knew so much about him and we didn't know that he would come back as a key character. And like, to be fair, nobody expected Wish Chan to play the fake death card, but it's still it's like right under all this information under our nose, and we had no clue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
We get more mentions of super deformed Wish Syaoran, and I know that like if Wish Chan was going to do an edit of this chapter, that would definitely hit the chopping block. But that's what we were talking about earlier about how this chapter made us like think of an episode of an anime.
Yeah, it definitely like she includes them like the anime falling down, and him getting all bruised up and stuff. Like this is definitely an episode where I think it definitely is more of like 2000s anime, and I don't think she would write it this way nowadays, but it makes it for a fun, cute little chapter though.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, them escaping with the big card and the small card and the big card, I think this is exactly the activity or the conflict that they needed to work together to just get past all of the awkwardness from the chapter before.
Agreed. I also like when he there's like and I think I even laughed in the audiobook too, but like when he faces the wall and then and he's like, it's Chinese custom to just scream at the wall before your enemies or whatever he's
Oh man, when the madman had his monologue, it's like I could tell you were having so much fun.
I think this is the first time I broke while I was reading because it was just so funny to me. And I was trying to do all these voices all at once, which I'm not super proud of my shout on voice in this one, but I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, it was a super fun one to record. My voice was definitely hurting by the end of it, not only because of the length, but just because of the how dare you and all the crazy stuff I had to do.
I know, speaking of first times, this is the first time that Sakura uses her powers the same way that Nadeshiko did. I don't remember this coming back in the series, though.
Well, I think it's a way of using her cards without needing to hold the physical card. Like I think she used the past, but without having to like use her staff. And, she can do that
Mm.
eventually with like the fly card with the wings. And then I think there's another couple instances where she basically figures out she can use her cards and her powers without actually needing her staff and cards. So I think it's just kind of a setup to show that her powers are expanding. But I do think it does come back.
Cool, cool. And there was a line about Sharon telling the madman how you only live once, and then now he's already regretting his actions in the previous chapter. It didn't take long.
And that's the pot calling the kettle black, as they say.
Hmm.
It's like, take
Uh,
your own advice, you poop head.
it's gonna be a while. It's a rocky road for those two.
Mm-mm-mm.
So the last scene with the teacher screaming out once again right out of an anime and leave it to Tomoyo for being the only one to be sharp and awake. I bet you anything that she just like started drinking coffee at a young age.
I mean, I started when I was 3.
Girl.
And it didn't stop my growth unless I was meant to be 6'4".
So is there anything else you'd like to say about the chapter?
I don't think so.
So now we're moving on to Dark Force's corner. There's one line that I wanted to highlight when Nadeshiko was against the whip. So in the text, it says, without thinking, Nadeshiko's emerald eyes widened, then flashed, and in a poof of fiery flames, the whip disappeared. How do you explain that? When they were fighting the whip, she just like looks at it and she's like telekinesis to capture it. Isn't that strange?
Or maybe it doesn't technically capture it, but it just kind of like forces it out of existence for a while because she can't seal because she doesn't have the
Hmm.
power or the ability to seal things. So that's my best explanation is instead of like sealing it and creating a contract and stuff, which is like what Sakura does, maybe they just kind of force it out of existence for a while and then it has to regenerate until it can come back as a dark force. That's my best explanation.
I thought that was that kind of stood out to me, but like we don't really get a lot of Nadeshiko Ryuren battle scenes. We just get more of the progression of the relationship between the two. But
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
that just stood out to me this time, and I'm like, huh, that's new. And also in this chapter, we get the small card and the big card, and I will never not think of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, that's such a good episode. Shout on his Twiddledee and Twiddledum cracks me up every time.
Moving on to the fan art spotlight. So today's fan art comes from a longtime fan. Her name is Varsha Chakra. She actually discovered New Trials in the early 2000s. Now, she shared this fan art with the Facebook group back in 2012. It's basically the angel of Nadeshiko looking over Fujitaka, little Toya, and baby Sakura. Um, so this isn't actually a fan art for New Trials, but just this fan art alone, it reminds me of the scene where Sakura was telling the man about her mother is watching over her family, and that's what gave him the peace of mind to move on.
Oh, this makes me want to cry. Like anything having to do with babies now. I'm such a sap since becoming a mom. I know technically she doesn't die till Sakura's 3, so it doesn't,
Three.
but I mean, it's such a beautiful art though. I think it really, I'm gonna have to like click off it because it's gonna make me cry. So
Yeah.
sweet.
So we're ready to move on to the author's notes.
Okay, so she said, well, another big chapter. Very muddled, huh? A dream about Nadesco Ryurin shopping, confronting a madman, locked in a dungeon, not to mention a scary teacher. Hoi! This chapter lapsed from serious to not so serious. Hee hee. Have you ever wondered where Syaoran got such great fashion sense? I have. My own little explanation. About my titles. I hope most of you figured out how they connect to my chapters. Wait till you turn to me. This has 4 connections. 1, Nadesco will wait till Ryurin will return her feelings for him. Who would have thought of this of Dade-chan? Brr. Ryurin makes me feel cold, but he has a good heart. 2, Fujiko would wait till her lover will trust her again and accept her soul. 3, the man will wait till he learns to put behind his revengeful mind and love Fujiko again. And 4, and finally, Sakura wait for what? Yes. Oh yeah, did you notice a strange twist about Fujiko? Fujiko Kinomoto. Sorry, I like making things complicated. Someday I'm going to include Fujata's story too. So, well.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it during the episode, but yes, Fujiko is Fujitaka's sister. And makes sense that the madman would think that Sakura is his long love because she's like this descendant and all. But what are the odds?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is kind of like a setup chapter for later when we learn of Fujata's backstory and past and all. Like, who would have seen that coming? So I can't wait till we get to that because I just
Mhm.
think that's so interesting how she expands his character and his backstory.
Seriously, justice for Fujitaka. He's like always in the background. Nobody knows anything about him, and I love the story that Wish Chen weaves for him, even though it is sad the way that he had to break ties with his family. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have been listening to New Trials, the podcast, where it must rain for there to be a rainbow.
You've been listening to New Trials, the podcast. Please be sure to check out the audiobook version of this fan fiction that you can find anywhere you can find this podcast. Also, please be sure to check out the Facebook fan page for Wish-Chan New Trials fan fiction, where a big majority of our discussions happen nowadays. Also, be sure to send us any discussion questions you might have to ntthepod@gmail.com. And be sure to stick around next week when we discuss Chapter 13, The Twisted Winter Concert.